Welcome to Gentle Yoga at YogaWorks. I'm Ariele. This practice today is going to be about stabilizing our shoulders and opening up our thoracic spine in a really gentle way. And yeah, I teach this class more of a kind of a therapeutic approach, building from my physical therapy practice so I can share with you guys, share with patients, etc., etc. All right. Bring your hands to your abdomen. Bend your knees and let your knees drop in on one another. You might need to wiggle your feet apart from one another. Allow your eyes to close and simply drop in, noticing your breath. One of the core tenets of a yoga practice is self-inquiry. Noticing. You can notice on every level of your being, but the one we start with and we anchor with in most yoga classes is, of course, our physical body. Just become aware whether your abdomen is moving with the breath at all. If it is, it's a pretty good sign that you're breathing with your diaphragm, the main muscle of respiration. Believe it or not, it is possible to overemphasize diaphragmatic breathing. So keeping one hand on the low belly, bring the other hand to the upper chest. And also notice if there's any movement there. If our practice today has an intention of enhancing the well-being of our shoulders, we have to start with the well-being of our trunk and our thoracic spine, because this is the origin of our shoulders. The shoulder girdle is actually 4 joints on each side. It is the joint where the collarbone meets your breastbone. It's the other end of the collarbone where it meets the shoulder blade. It's the arm bone in the socket, which obviously we think of as the shoulder. And it's also a pseudo joint where the shoulder blade moves on your thoracic spine over the back of your ribs. So all of these have to be in harmony. Please take your other hand also to your upper chest. And just see if as you breathe naturally to the fullest level of breath, sometimes called 3-part breathing, Dirgha Pranayama in yoga, see if your chest moves at all. So we want gentle movement under all of these body parts. Welcome. Let's roll over to the right side. So please open up your eyes and roll over to the right side. Since you have a blanket and a block, if you have a blanket and a block, you can rest your head on the, I recommend the blanket actually, a little more than the block. If you want something to rest your head on, you don't have to. You're going to reach your right arm forward. We've got 2 blocks, a strap, and a blanket. So left hand stacks on top of the right. Head can be super heavy. Now we just slide that left hand forward. So it's like a reverse twist. And then open the arm to the sky and then all the way back. Allow your head to be heavy. So we're opening the book, closing the book. If you prefer the book as a People magazine, that's okay with me. Opening the book and closing the book. If you are really comfortable doing this, and this is so easy peasy and you're not getting much sensation, you can also reach the arm sort of overhead in this arc and reach it by left arm by the left ear, open, open, open out so that you end up in the open book position. I call this one over the rainbow. So over the rainbow back, reach over the rainbow up. And if you get any pinching, any discomfort, then just don't do that one. Just simply do the open book, closed book, which will be more available to more people, even if you've got shoulder issues. So in the spirit of yoga, invite a little bit of presence with breath as you do this. Continue with that path of self-inquiry that I mentioned a moment ago. The path of self-inquiry offers you an inner sense of authority so that at any point during this movement, if you feel like there's a place where you want to linger or stay, you can absolutely do that. We'll just do about 2 to 3 more on this side. So we're going to go a little more slowly and really linger in that angle that feels potent, therapeutic to you. I don't encourage anybody to linger in a painful spot. But if you're like, oh, my arm hasn't moved in that way in a while, these are all very, very natural, very functional movements that we should hope to keep for most of our lives. So you can hang out in that angle. Last little bit of instruction here. If you do have your head on the blanket, just make sure it's not being pushed up towards the ceiling. Just that it's gently supported. Please come back onto your back, and we'll switch to the other side. So please, from your back, you might have to wiggle your hips to the right. Lean over to your left, right hand stacks on the left. Just slide your right hand forward. Open the book. Even if you know you're going to do the rainbow shape over the rainbow, start with the open book, closed book a couple of rounds. Open, big wide open. Exhale and close. And then eventually get to the over the rainbow. So what you'll notice is it's not just your shoulder moving, it's your shoulder blade moving on your back. It's also your rib cage giving this simple, sweet, non-forced twist. Breath being invited into different parts of the body. Just a few more rounds. Over the rainbow, linger anywhere that feels therapeutic to you. Along that line of thought, there's this beautiful saying that there are 3 yoga teachers in the room. In this case, I'm only one of them. And there's this other teacher, which is really like the lineage or the weight of the history of yoga, which I'm also going to just suggest as somebody with a little bit of a scientific mind, that we also take into account modern movement, modern psychotherapy, the things that we know, just this body of knowledge that help to inform what we do on the practice that are bigger than any individual. I'll bring the palms back together. But the third teacher is you. So whatever feels good to you is really a piece of this. Please come back onto your back. And for this next move, you're going to simply interlace your fingers. You can take a mudra here known as Kali Mudra. So we start with all 4 fingers interlaced, left thumb over the right, and then we free up the first fingers and point them together towards the ceiling. So the next thing is just to simply lift your shoulder blades up and down, off the floor and on the floor, off the floor. You can do this without bending your elbows. You can do this without anything up and down. And then keeping them off the floor, lean a little over to your right and lean a little over to your left. Head stays heavy, so really just getting this reaching through the shoulder blades. You might feel a little bit of a massage in the muscles between your shoulder blades on your back and your upper back as you lean side to side. You can let the head go with it. Just take 2 more of these. And then draw your knees into your chest. You might need to, like me, roll up and grab your strap. We're going to place the strap into a big loop. And this is a big loop so that as the strap goes around your upper back, your hands will grab onto the strap and you'll be able to like push forward, right? So it will give you something to push into. And we're going to lie down again. Just make sure the tail doesn't smack your face. So you can hold on to that however you want. And it's okay if your elbows don't go 100% straight. You want a little bit of something to push into. So it has to be tighter than you think, right? The strap is around the upper back. It's not around your neck whatsoever at all. And you're going to push. And then same thing we did with when our hands were in Kali Mudra. Keep pushing, but roll to the right, roll to the left. Roll to the right, and roll to the left. We'll add just a little intrigue here. So let your knees drop over to the left, but keep your shoulders up to the ceiling, your hands up to the ceiling. Just push and relax. Push and relax. I'm coming around. I'm going to make sure everybody's strap is in a good length. But you're just pushing straight up towards the sky. So it's sort of like you're at the gym a little bit. You got something to push into. Your knees are off to the left, and your shoulders are just pushing up to the sky. If your knees are not off to the left, so just try this out. Experiment with me. Let them drop over. Yeah, there you go. And this way you'll get that conscious twist and the stability work. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So since we've done plenty on this side, let's bring the knees up and over to the right now. Hands still on the strap. You're just punching up. Again, I think I said this before, but if it feels good, you can go a little deeper into the twist. So straight up to the sky or a little bit deeper into the twist. Let your head be heavy on the ground. 5. Just a couple more. Don't worry about the position your legs are in. Find a position that feels good for them. And then release your strap and come on up to seated. Take a comfortable seat, whatever's comfy for you. I'm going to grab a blanket to sit on. And even for most of us, we'll be able to maintain the strap in this wide loop because it's it's still pretty long. But if your strap's not that long, or your loop's not that long, you can always make it longer. Bring the arms overhead. And then really lift up and lower down. Lift your shoulders to your ears and lower down. Lift and lower. And lift and lower. So this is really important, this lifting thing, because we're going to keep it lifted. I like it. And lean over to the right. You'll notice you don't go all that far while the arms are lifted because your lats are preventing it from really going all the way to the ground. Inhale up and then just do a little circle overhead. Connecting to breath, switch the direction of the circle clockwise to counterclockwise. And we'll bring the strap, the hands, push up towards the sky and then over to your left. Straight elbows. Allow the breath to go into the right side ribs. Our ribs move. I'm going to set down the strap, but you guys can stay where you are. Our ribs move in this little bucket handle-like motion. So as you inhale, they're almost like gills of a fish, kind of broadening on that side. But we end up tending to get a little stiff. Inhale up. And this time, just twist as far as you can towards one side. Like you're spinning around a flagpole. And then twist as far as you can around the other side. Perfect. Back to center. Sit down in the strap, roll out your shoulders. We'll release the blanket. Of course, you can use it under your knees as we come onto hands and knees. So from table pose, I want you to round your spine and keep it in this position known as cat pose, but keep it in this position for both the inhale and the exhale. Thinking about breathing into the mid-back, breathing into the mid-back, breathing into the space between the shoulder blades. And maintain yourself in cat, but rock a little forward and back. Find neutral. Left hand under the nose. Push the floor away. So instead of being like this with my shoulders squared, as I start to push the floor away, the right shoulder starts to stack a little bit. And don't worry about where your pelvis goes as you move. It's probably going to twist and pivot along with you. But right arm is going to go to the sky. Or you can even just have your right hand on your hip. And just look out over the right shoulder. Either hand on the hip or hand to the sky. Turning towards the floor and up. So if you have your hand to the sky, you can also bring your hand down and push and up and hand down and push and up. Okay, let's switch sides. Right hand under the nose. It's amazing how these simple and relatively gentle motions can actually fatigue out so quickly. So the muscle that we're working on here, it's a relatively small muscle. It's called serratus anterior, but it's a really, really important one. So push the ground away and start to stack left shoulder over right. Remember your lower half of your body just going along for the ride. Don't worry about it. And you can have your left hand on your left hip. Or you can open the left arm to the sky and then down. And open the left arm to the sky and down. Use your breath. Two more. Perfect. Please lower to your forearms now. Just let the weight shift right and left. Allow your weight to shift to the right and to the left. You might even sink the chest down between the arms now, doing the opposite motion of what we've done so far in class. So far we've done protraction, bringing the shoulder blades further around the sides of the ribs, and this would be kind of a retraction, pulling the shoulder blades back. So set the blanket off to the side. Come all the way down onto your forearms and your belly. And keep pushing the elbows down this time. So instead of the forward action we were doing before, that the energy is now straight down. If I had an arrow, I would draw it and it would go straight through my elbows so that I get taller. Keep the height Look over your right shoulder. Keep the height. Look over your left shoulder. So side to side. And another great thing you can do here is you can let your shoulders move with your head and neck. Now we're going to do the same thing, but with the elbows a little bit further out to the side. So it actually feels to me in my body a little bit harder. We can see that it just recruits a different set of muscles. So my arms look like a diamond now. My first finger and thumb are coming together, although it's not that important exactly how they set up. And again, let the one shoulder dip, push down solidly through the middle, and come to the other side. These are variations on Sphinx pose. Wiggle your elbows right back underneath your shoulders. Lean over to the left and come onto your right fingertips way out in front of you. So now the arrow is pointing straight down on the left and I'm really pushing down. I'm going to float the right arm up and then out to cactus and then out to airplane and then right back forward. Try not to sink down at all. So forward, cactus, airplane, and forward. I gotta say one thing. This is a bit of a, this is two things. I'm gonna say two things. If this is really uncomfortable for your low back to be in this kind of back bend for a prolonged period of time, having a blanket under your belly or maybe a little bit under your pelvis can help. If it's really uncomfortable on your shoulders, you might benefit from doing the same thing, but this position so that it's a little bit more distributed into your legs. So forward, side, out. So I just want to make sure that there's options for everybody. Yeah. One more round. I know, they're really simple movements, but they're pretty big, yeah? Slowly, everybody settle to your belly. Blanket underneath is optional. And stretch your left leg, that's the arm, stretch your left arm straight out to the side. And turn so that your left cheek is on your yoga mat. Right hand right in front of the face. You're simply going to roll towards your left. Already this may be really sensationful for many of you guys, so stick there if that's the case. You can also bend your knees up towards your chest, and that will turn the volume up a little bit in terms of how deeply you go into the shoulder. You can also push your right hand down in front of the face and spin a little bit more deeply. This is a bit of a passive stretch to the front of the left shoulder, the pecs. But for many of us, we really do shorten our pecs from repetitive overuse if you go to regular vinyasa yoga classes with a lot of yoga chaturanga. And so allowing yourself a few breaths here, it's not really about stretching out the muscle, so much as resetting your nervous system to remind you that it's okay to not always have shortened pecs all the time. Let's release. Straighten out your legs if you bent them up. Come back onto your belly for a moment. Bend your knees and just let the feet windshield wipe side to side. This is one of my favorite moves. It's so simple, but the hips are really, really deep socket, deep joint. And this gets to a range of motions in the hip that we don't always get to every day. The fullest internal range, internal rotation, external rotation. And it sort of reminds them that they need to be able to roll and glide smoothly in the sockets. Try to keep the pelvis pressed down so that one cheek's not floating up as you go to one side and the other cheek's not floating up as you go to the other side. So the way I teach this to patients is I say, press your pelvis into the floor like you really, 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 really like it. So that will help you to get the motion more in the hips. Back to center. Prop yourself up on your elbows. Right elbow directly under the right shoulder, maybe a little bit in. And remember the arrow's pointing down. So left hand out in front of you, optional blanket underneath you. Fingertips to the floor. Thumb comes up, reach. And this is a good practice, like it's basically a downward dog arm. Elbow to the side for cactus. And then an arm out to the side for it. Right back to center, push the elbow down, the right elbow. Left elbow to the side. Airplane. Sweep and push. Working on the endurance of that right arm, the right shoulder stabilizers. If you, like me, notice a tendency to sag, just keep thinking about that arrow. Of course, you have the option of being on your knees for this. You have the option of doubling the blanket. Last one. Lower down. Right arm is going to reach out, straight out to the side on the ground. Your left hand is on the floor next to your left shoulder. Your right cheek comes to the floor, and you just roll onto your right side. Bending the knees up if that would feel good. You can change the angle of the arm until you get to one that feels therapeutic for you. Hang out here for a few more breaths, working into the pecs. You can push your left arm down more. Very slowly roll back onto belly. Come up to hands and knees. Take a comfortable seat. So I call this my public service announcement, my PSA, and I tend to teach it a lot in my vinyasa classes because we do so much on our hands. And many yoga classes. And in this class, I don't do as much on the hands. But nonetheless, we're going to go into down dog in a moment. And I want to show you the mechanics of the shoulders for down dog. So this is my public service announcement. You will need your shoulder blade to go around the side of your ribs a little bit. And you'll also need the shoulder blade. Imagine this is my shoulder blade. You also need it to rotate upwards a little bit. Now the reason for that is because when your arm is by your side, so call this the shoulder blade and call this the arm, it sort of hangs there. And the socket's very, very shallow. And it's almost like, it's supported by ligaments and muscle and all those things, but it's hanging there. And for people who lose muscle strength, like if you've had a stroke and you don't have any muscle strength on that side, many times the arm will actually sublux. It will kind of pop out a little bit. Sorry to be gross, but that's a thing that can happen. So it's just kind of supported there by the muscle tone, by your ligaments. And sometimes teachers will say, keep your shoulder blade back and down, but then raise your arm. So then what happens is that you're in this position, which is kind of no bueno, it's not very good, because then your arm can just, it's not a very stable position for one. And for two, there's things here, the muscles that help to support it and keep it from falling down. they then get pinched at the top. So what I'm encouraging everybody to do is, as you raise your arm, and it actually feels quite natural to let your shoulder blade come around and up, and then down. So if you ever hear a teacher say, when your arm's by your sides, it's fine to keep your shoulder blades back and down or to have that effort. But when the arm is overhead, you have to let it go forward and up so that it has a little platform for the arm bone to stand on. So we're going to do this together. Give yourself a big hug. Feel how the shoulder blades move around the sides of your ribs. Lift your elbows. You can even do a little bit of a cat pose here, breathing into the space in the upper back, and then reach your arms up. Your shoulders will be pretty close to your ears, but your head and neck will be relaxed. So there's a reaching. It's almost like, I call it the 80s aerobics reach, this thing happening. And that's the most healthful way, knowing the anatomy, to practice anything overhead, whether it's a handstand, down dog, etc., etc. So let's do that with the blocks. You're going to just take a block, one block on either hand, it doesn't matter, and reach it up. And I want you to really, really reach it like you're trying to reach onto the top shelf. So you'll notice that you might even feel a little bit of a stretch, that your elbow is straight, and that there's a lifting up, like I'm trying to stamp the ceiling. Readjust your ribs if they popped out a little bit. Bring the arm by your ear if that's reasonable. This is the position for the arm for down dog. And then slide the palm back. We'll switch it to the other side. So set yourself up and reach, and then really, really reach like you're trying to stamp the ceiling. Pull the ribs back. And come on down. Both blocks. It's a pretty high probability that some blocks are going to fall in the next couple seconds, just so you know. So bring your elbows together in front. Breathe towards the back of the body. And slowly reach the arms up. Push them up like you mean it. Let your head be relaxed. Draw the lowest ribs in. Straight elbows. Stamping the ceiling. And then lower down. Yeah. So I don't know, I geek out on that. I hope you guys appreciate it. But we'll experiment with it also on hands and knees. If since it's our first down dog of the day, for many of us, if you want to, you can have the blocks under your hands. What this does is it just kicks a little more of the weight into your legs. So start off in hands and knees for table pose. And a true down dog, I'm not really a stickler about this, but a true down dog is a little bit longer than a regular table pose, because table is shoulders over wrists, and then back. You're going to back your knees up a little bit, because it would be to shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. So you're going to back your knees up a little bit, and then push the floor away. Keep that energy of the arms as you just lift your right arm forward, out to the side, and fully out for airplane. Left arm still kicking in, yeah? Push the floor away. Feel the miniature cat shape happen in your upper back. Left arm forward. Left elbow to the side. Left arm out. Keep pushing to the right. Both hands to the floor. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Curl your toes under. Keep pushing. And then pinky and thumb curl around if you're using the blocks. Rise your hips to the sky. Notice that you have the option here. Even though you're pushing the ground away, you're pushing the blocks into the floor or your hands into the floor, you have the option to let your head be really, really relaxed. And slowly roll down. Move your blocks to the sides. One more down dog. Root the hands into the floor, so widen the space between the shoulder blades, hips back, down dog. And let's apply that same principle dynamically as you walk your hands back to your feet. So you're pushing the ground away like there's an arrow under the hands. And then walk it right back out, super slow, down dog. You're pushing the ground away. This is how animals move all over the world. This is really powerful, simple way to keep your shoulders happy as you go to more vigorous practices. Please lower to your knees. Use your blanket if you'd like. Have your strap within arm's reach and take a child's pose. We're going to grab the strap between the hands, maybe about shoulder distance apart, but you can go wider if you'd like. And just roll slightly onto the crown of the head. Most of the weight is in your legs. Let the arms come up and over. You can come into this and out of it, or you can stay in it. This is known as rabbit pose. So the strap goes between the hands behind your low back. And then you roll up. Linger for a full round of breath. Inhale fully. Exhale fully. Slowly lower the hands. Release the strap. Roll up. We're going to set ourselves to the middle of the yoga mat. And please catch hold of your blanket. I'm going to be a little bit picky about how we set the blanket just now. So let's call this the stored position. And you want to make a really nice tight sushi roll or burrito roll or whatever is your favorite food. There's like those holiday logs with the cream cheese in the middle. Those are pretty funny. You can set it up like this and bring the back of your pelvis to the back of the burrito. So especially since you're tall, I want yours to be longer. I'm going to help you figure that out in just a moment. So it's going to be at the back of your pelvis, and you can do two things with this next action. So if you want to, you can have the block on either side. You're going to lower down, so you'll end up in a little bit of a back bend, but the most important piece of it is that your head is supported and your arms are out in cactus. For me, because I'm relatively bendy in my low back, I will straighten my knees towards the sky and open the arms into a V shape above to feel sensation. So for some of you, you might want to use your two blocks, at least three options, to get really, really cozy. Something's going on here. I see. There we go. You have so many options to get cozy. I'm going to walk around and make sure you get one, but the idea is that the blanket is pushing the center of your chest forward without too much curvature in your lower back, and that your arms are draping open like the Titanic, the movie. Kate Winslet. This is our Shavasana. These are total treats in here with a kitchen room. And I hope that it's going to feel free to be with yourself. So allow your eyelids to be heavy. Jaw to be a little bit relaxed. The skin drape across your body. Notice any thoughts that have come up. Imagine them like a cloud in the sky, drifting past. The bones are heavy and supported. This miniature yoga sleep is allowing us to integrate, rebuild, for any strengthening that we did today. With your breath to become a little bit deeper. Find just the tiniest bit of movement in your fingers and in your toes. And slowly roll to the side, bending your knees up to the ceiling. Roll to the side, taking your time. Let your eyelids stay heavy. We'll rise up to a comfortable seat. One hand over the heart, one hand over the abdomen. May our breath be full. May our minds stay focused, quiet. May each moment, each breath, each molecule of energy that we are so fortunate to experience, may we then turn that into more goodness, more kindness. to ourselves and to those who we encounter each and every day. It's a great privilege to spend this time with each of you. Namaste.